Now, the two men convicted of criminal damage for cutting down the Sycamore Gap tree were both jailed for 4 years and 3 months today, and were each told they will serve at least 20 and a half months of those sentences in prison.
I'm confident that a major factor in your offending that night was sheer bravado. Felling the tree in the middle of the night and in the middle of the storm gave you some sort of thrill, as did the media coverage of your crimes over the following days. You revelled in the coverage, taking evident pride in what you had done, knowing that you were responsible for the crime which so many people were talking about.
I think this is ridiculous, a ridiculous sentence. Yes, they were guilty. Yes, they should have been punished. But what's the point in sending either of them to prison? It's not as if they're going to reoffend, is it? So that's another 2 prison places taken up. We've got to conduct our judicial system in a way where people are punished in a way that doesn't necessarily involve them going to jail. Take their houses away from them. I mean, that's an extreme thing to say, but that would be a real punishment for them that would affect them for the rest of their lives. I just think a 4-year jail sentence, and they'll be out within 18 months, is ridiculous.
I think many people will feel that kind of wanton vandalism is something that I think most people would treasure both locally and nationally. It is warranted. It's not for me to set the sentences, but I think it was very high up in the news. There was a lot of public concern over their action to do that. So I don't have any issue with that sentence being passed. It was a wanton act of vandalism that I think many people will feel was completely reprehensible and will deeply regret. It was something that was standing for a great deal of time. It much loved landmark that many people went to visit. And I think people would expect them to feel the full force of the law and a justifiable sentence.
Leslie Neltham says, I always thought Iain Dale was fair and level-headed until he said that the idiots who cut down the trees should have their houses taken away. Well, I sort of exaggerated to make a point, but, I mean, Reem, do you think that a prison sentence is appropriate here, or should we not be able to find different forms of punishment that don't involve prison for people who, I mean, let's face it, they're not going to cut another one down, are they?
Well, it's interesting. Well, indeed. When you look at the US, for example, a lot of these kind of cases are taken as a civil case. So things like a fine or maybe not taking away your house, but being forced to pay a substantial amount of money. It's interesting. I think what people are upset about is the seeming nature that there is different cases of justice for different people. The fact that somebody like Lucy Connolly got 31 months for a tweet, and somebody like this that's, broken down a tree has gotten 4 years, but then somebody else who was actually rioting around the Southport riots got less than the person that got into prison for a tweet. So I think the question really is about fairness and whether or not the sentences are in proportion to what they actually are. But also, crucially, prisons, I think, are there to take people that are dangerous away from society. I don't think this individual is as dangerous as some of the people that are walking freely on the streets currently.
Can I just correct one thing? It wasn't just a tweet. If people were put in jail for just tweeting, we'd all be in jail.
That is what Lucy Connolly got into prison for.
No, it wasn't a tweet. It was a Facebook post.
It was for what she wrote. It wasn't for the act of tweeting.
It was a social media post.
It was a social media post, but it wasn't.
Do you think somebody needs to be in prison for 31 months for a social media post?
Can we not get into Lucy Connolly? We have discussed this on the programme many times before. Yeah. But what I was referring to, I mean, restorative justice surely is important here. I mean, if they were sentenced to spend... Hang on a second, let me finish. If they were sentenced to 2 years planting trees every day of the week for 2 years, I would think most people would think, well, that's a really good way of punishing somebody. Aggie.
Well, just quickly to Luke's point, I'm not sure that something being high up in the news should affect how long you're in prison. And I think it's just maybe worth reflecting on what you would normally get 4 years in prison for, because obviously this is quite an unusual crime. But if you get sentenced for 4 years in prison, you could have done something like a serious violent or sexual crime or certain terrorism offences too. So it's a substantial time in prison. And I think it's interesting because this obviously happens. They've been sentenced to 4 years, 3 months. At the same time, or very similar time to Shabana Mahmood, the Justice Secretary, is basically trying to put fewer people in prison.
Exactly.
So as you say, there is a big question about what can be done, not necessarily taking away people's houses, potentially constitutionally difficult to do.
That was an exaggeration.
Yeah.
I withdraw that comment, but I think they should be planting trees.
It was hyperbole.
It was hyperbole, and unusually I committed hyperbole. Andrew.
I'm in the same place you are. I mean, prison is, if nothing else, it's violently expensive. We don't have enough prison places. It should be to protect people from either reoffending or criminal offences, and find something useful for them to do. Bring back some orange jumpsuits, some leg shackles, and have people plant trees. I mean, that seems to me perfectly sensible singing or whatever.
I'm going to plant 2,000 trees. A text from Albert who says, does Kemi think 4 years and 3 months is a fitting punishment for those two morons who cut down that ancient tree?
Well, Albert, I think if you're calling them morons, you certainly think it's a fitting punishment. I think they did something really terrible. And I am somebody who believes that punishment does work. People need to know that if you do something wrong, you will be punished. We need more enforcement in our country.
But what good does it do sending these two people to prison? They're hardly likely to reoffend. Surely that's one of the reasons you send people to prison. Do we not have to think of more acute punishments for people that affect their everyday life? For example, take their houses away from them or something like that. Well, that would really affect them.
It would, but...
they'll be out in 18 months.
Well, yes, indeed. It will be half the sentence if they're on good behaviour. At the moment, prison is the punishment that we have. I do think there are other things that we should do. Bigger, higher fines for those who it'll make a difference. But at the end of the day, we need to make sure that if someone does something wrong, they know that they will be punished for it. You look at what's happening with the prevalence of mobile phone snatching and shoplifting. This is happening because there's not enough enforcement. We just need to enforce.
You know this tree now. You may not have known it before. Iconic is an overused word, isn't it? And yet this tree was iconic. It's been really interesting to hear people. Cy King, the surviving hairy biker, spoke very powerfully. I really, really admire him, and I really admired Dave Myers as well, his old mate. I loved that show, but they did like the best people on television, like the best communicators. They moved far beyond their purview. I always call it the Fred Dibner effect. Some people whose just natural warmth and charm and passion for their subject reaches far beyond the subject and sort of touches you in ways that only very, very few television presenters can do. And he spoke about the tree in incredibly emotional terms. And my slightly lazy temptation to attack it would be probably to attack the sentencing and to, well, look, here's the line, right? It's only a tree. So that is going to be the starting point, the roots, if you like, of the conversation that we're about to have. But then we'll branch out. So it's only a tree. Therefore, 4 years and 3 months for chopping it down is objectively ridiculous. Right? Are you with me so far? That's if you like, I'm not going to move through my gears. I'm going to stay in first or second gear on my thinking. It's only a tree. Therefore, 4 years and 3 months for chopping it down is ridiculous. But what happens when you push up into third gear or fourth gear and you start thinking about it a little bit more deeply? It's not only a tree. Do you want me to introduce you to a wonderful word? God, that's patronising. You probably know it already, but I had to look it up. I had to double check what it actually meant. I thought I knew what it meant, and I did, but not quite. It's a wonderful word. It may even become your new favourite word by 11:15 today. The word is quiddity. 2 Ds, Q-U-I-D-D-I-T-Y. And it means the essence of something, or indeed someone. A person has quiddity, the very essence of something. If you start thinking in terms of quiddity, then it's not just a tree. It's a receptacle that holds millions of feelings. So you chop down a tree that nobody knows about, even if it's one of the most magnificent trees in the world, you are doing something very different from when you chop down a tree that millions of people care about. The quiddity, or the quiddity if you prefer, the quiddity of that tree, the very essence of that tree, is intrinsically and inextricably linked to how we feel about it, how you feel about it, the quiddity of the tree. So, automatically, I would argue And this might be another pendulum hour, because at 9 o'clock this morning, I was fairly persuaded that it was a stupid sentence, 4 years and 3 months, until two colleagues actually started explaining to me why they feel that the sentence was correct, and they pushed my gear stick. I moved into third, possibly even fourth gear. You're going to ring me and take me to fifth, 03456060973, or indeed reverse. I think we'll end with the motoring analogies now, but that is not my. It's a gear stick hour, not a pendulum hour. Are we going to work our way through the gears, or are we going to move into reverse? Because it's not just a tree. It's about what society says to men who treat the feelings of their fellow citizens with such obvious and ignorant contempt. And it doesn't matter whether they knew what they were doing or not. It's contempt for your fellow human. It's contempt for your fellow citizen. It's contempt for the public, this act. What's your biggest bugbear? Don't ring me, don't ring me, don't ring me. But what's your biggest bugbear about how other people behave in a way that demonstrates their abject lack of concern for your feelings? It might be something little. People who are really, really loud, having conversations on their speakers, on phones, on public transport. People watching films without wearing headphones or listening to music on public transport. I'm not trying to steal Sheila Fogarty's lunch, but it winds everybody up, right? We've tried to get into the psychology of it. We've tried to get into the reasons why it offends our sensibilities so much and whether it should do or not. But what it speaks to is a sense that people are behaving with contempt for, well, you fill in the gaps. For you, for me, for us, or for the norms, for the ties that bind, for the things that make a society civilized. You think about others. So you chop down a tree that is iconic. It's not just the material value that should be taken into account, although somehow they've estimated that the whole thing cost about £640,000. It's not just people talking, yeah, I told you not to call me. Well, you're not, actually. You're just texting me. But that yeah, I know, your bugbears. And they seem little. Looking at phones in the cinema drives me mad. People talking, discarding litter makes me consider the death penalty. So all of the things, so you toss some litter out of it, all of the things, low-level things you see people doing that essentially announce to the world, I don't care about anyone else. We're probably all a little bit guilty of it in ways. And when we do it, we probably don't realise that we're doing it. But we've all got the things that we think of, right? I don't care. No, I won't be quiet. No, I won't take my rubbish home with me. No, I won't turn down the volume on my phone. No, I won't buy some earpods. No, I won't conduct a phone call at a civilised volume compared to... no, I won't move. I won't do this. I won't do that. I won't put my airline seat back up so that you can actually move your knees. They're people who just don't care. And then you move it up a notch. You turn the volume. And you come to a tree that means a lot, an awful lot, to an awful lot of people. Planted in the 1800s. And truly, undeniably exotic. The bloke who planted it even bought some land around Hadrian's Wall to preserve it. It's nestled in a dip in the Roman structure. That's 2,000 years right there. The tree, almost, don't at me. Visitors from all around the world. It appeared in a film. Admittedly, it was relocated geographically in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, but it's an iconic image. It's a beautiful image. And I struggled in some ways with the anger that was prompted when it was reported that it had been chopped down. And in a way, I still struggle now because I'm not part of the Quiddity. I didn't realise this was going to go on so long either, but it turns out I've got a hell of a lot to say about this tree, probably because of the Quiddity of it. So, what is the essence of the tree? Why is this sentence correct? I want you to try. I don't want to have a debate about this. I will do if you ring me to tell me why the sentence is wrong. But can you help me and others understand why it's actually correct? Because I want to get out of second gear. I want to get into the quiddity of it. I want to get into the social relevance, the power, the importance of teaching people that they can't go through their life treating everybody else's feelings with contempt. Or have I got it completely wrong? Wouldn't be the first time. I'm currently in third gear. It's a correct sentence. I was in first gear this morning. It was a wrong sentence. It's just a tree. It's not, though, is it? If it's not just a tree, here's the question for you. I got there in the end. Calm down, Keith. This is why I overshoot my junction sometimes. If it's not just a tree, what is it?